Well, this is wild. Resurfaced video from 2022 is coming back to correctly haunt Arizona Senate candidate and extreme MAGA Republican Kari Lake, especially given its relevance to this current moment. You'll see what I mean in just a little bit. And given what this video reveals and what we know about her record, she's backtracking and panicking, given what's going on in this moment. So the context before playing that video is that, as we talked about in a past segment, the Arizona Supreme Court has upheld a 123-year-old law that is a near total ban on abortion, only enabled by the fact that Roe v. Wade, of course, was overturned, and now they've ruled on this particular law. Again, Civil War era, before Arizona was even officially a state. And this law, according to the Supreme Court of Arizona, needs to be enforced and upheld. And it doesn't even make exceptions for rape or incest. Only the life of the mother demands a 2 to 5 year prison sentence for providers, a horrific and frightening situation for those in Arizona. Now, the Attorney General has said she wouldn't enforce this, but still, super frightening. Before I show you the video that's relevant to this from Kari Lake, let me give you even more context. This from CNN.
For sharing your afternoon with us, we start following breaking news out of Arizona. The state Supreme Court just issued a historic decision on abortion, which could enforce some of the most extreme restrictions in the country, and it could have far-reaching consequences for reproductive rights. Today, the justices ruled that the state must adhere to a 123-year-old law that bans nearly all abortions, though there is an exception in the case of saving the life of the mother.
It does not have any exceptions for rape or incest, and it carries a punishment for abortion providers between 2 and 5 years in prison. We have CNN's Paula Reed. We have Natasha Chen as well, standing by with the latest developments. Let's start with you, Natasha. Walk us through what is in this ruling.
I'm going to really quickly pause your viewing of this video to ask you to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Just click that subscribe button, plus the like button as well, and the alert bell so you get notifications. Back to it.
Right, this ruling came down about an hour ago. It's 47 pages. It talks about how the state must adhere to this 123-year-old law that bans nearly all abortions, as you said, except for in the case of saving the life of a mother, and carries that 2 to 5 year prison sentence for abortion providers.
So what we're seeing, as we talked about yesterday with Sean Hannity, as we're seeing with Trump and others in the Republican Party, people in the GOP are realizing just how unpopular these extreme bans, the laws they've been advocating on behalf of, are to the majority of Americans, and how electorally not viable this sort of governance is and this sort of advocacy is. And so in this case, Kari Lake is trying to rewrite, distort, and distract from her record on this particular law. What I mean is this from Midas Touch. Kari Lake called Arizona abortion ban, the one we're talking about here, 123 years old and a near total ban, great law. But now she's changing her story. After the Arizona Supreme Court today upheld their draconian 1864 abortion law, which calls for 2 to 5 years in prison for anyone involved in performing an abortion, Kari Lake fired off a statement saying that she disagrees with the decision and hopes that the voters will overturn it in a referendum this November, when her Senate race is also on the ballot against Ruben Gallego. There's just one big problem for shameless, fraudulent Lake. She said the exact opposite repeatedly when she ran for governor in 2022, and they provide the receipts. Here it is.
Obviously, I think Roe v. Wade should be overturned, and I think the Supreme Court, I have a good feeling that they're going to do the right thing this time. And again, I'll echo what Steve just said. We have a great law on the books right now. If that happens, we will be a state where we will not be taking the lives of our unborn anymore. And
Kari Lake's Democratic opponent, Ruben Gallego, responded saying, I won't let Kari Lake distort the record. She called this law a great law, even though it will ban nearly all abortions, including in cases of rape and incest. And before I respond, here's another example. That wasn't a one-off. Here's from the 2022 debate.
Kari, we'll start with you on this one. The new law banning abortion, the new law banning abortion in Arizona after 15 weeks. There's that law, and there's a territorial era law which bans all abortion. Zippo, over. Which law do you think should take effect?
My personal belief is that all life matters, all life counts, and all life is precious, and I don't believe in abortion. I think the older law is going to go into effect. That's what I believe will happen.
Okay, but you approve of that? What, at conception?
I believe life begins at conception.
Okay, what do we do about abortion pills? What do we do about...
I don't think abortion pills should be legal. That's
not in Arizona. Karen, what do you think?
But then, as was reported on, she's now backtracking. Here's a statement she released. I'll just read the key part. I oppose today's ruling, and I'm calling on Katie Hobbs and the state legislature to come up with an immediate common sense solution that Arizonans can support. Ultimately, Arizona voters will make the decision on the ballot come November, which is true. Hopefully, it'll be rejecting Kari Lake. So what's the takeaway? First, it is motivating seeing the power and strength of the pro-reproductive freedoms movement that even Republicans now are backtracking and are panicked about their electoral prospects, given just how strong people feel about this issue and just how outraged they are about the harm being done because of the laws that have either been enabled or implemented post the overturning of Roe v. Wade. And we've talked about the hopeful element of this issue being not the horrific things that are happening, but potentially the response that could be the reason for abortion rights being enshrined in federal law after this upcoming election. Hopefully that will be the conclusion of this story and protecting reproductive freedoms across the country. And it seems like the energy is there to make that happen if we can get enough proper elected leaders into office. But I do just think it's important to say, politically, they can't get away with this. Republicans, that is, backtracking, rewriting the record, and then we go, oh, okay, well, all right, you sort of changed. You got what you wanted, and you've been fighting for as a movement for a super long time, and now we're supposed to not remember that. Now we're supposed to pretend like you're reasonable. Absolutely not. This is what Kari Lake advocated for. So citizens in Arizona, this is the world Kari Lake wanted you to live in. She praised this exact law. It's a great law. She advocated for the overturning of Roe v. Wade. Her dear leader, Donald Trump, got that done. And this is the country that they wanted to see, actually even further, see manifested. A country that doesn't have these rights protected for people. A country where this sort of harm can be inflicted on people state by state. And so now that they're realizing that's really unpopular politically and people want their rights back, the fact that they are sort of changing their tune should not allow them to win these elections. And we should keep in mind the fact that, as we saw in that video, this is exactly what Kari Lake fought for and advocated for and hoped for. And a statement here and there, backtracking, is not enough to make people forget that. And that is the most important takeaway of this. This is the situation they created as a movement, and thus electorally, we should respond accordingly. And I want to add in this segment as well, the story. What are we discussing here? It's not just an abstract concept, and sometimes I think it's easier to talk about this in the abstract, and I want to touch base with a real life that was impacted by these sorts of horrible laws. And this is a Texas woman, Amanda Zorowski, that we've talked about in the past, actually in the form of an ad the Biden campaign put out about her story.
This is one of our willow boxes. This is just filled with some of the things that we had started gathering for her while I was pregnant.
Yep.
Here's her little baby book. This is the outfit that she was gonna maybe wear home from the hospital. All of these. This is the blanket that she was in. And these are her little footprints.
It's okay. I'm Joe Biden, and I approve this message.
So this is real stuff. And again, as Americans, we can't forget who's responsible for it, and we have to go vote accordingly. And that's what I think we're going to see in November. Make sure you subscribe to this channel.